So is everyone able to see that as the, give us a thumbs up, Tatiana. Is that all right? Yeah, okay. So we're going to use the breakout rooms today just to kind of think about, right, an exercise that you can do together. And the brief is to plan a Zoom party for tonight. You don't necessarily have to have the party. That's that's up to you. Depends how good the exercise is, I suppose. But to just think about, right, well, it's for the people that are in your group. I'm going to put you into these random groups again. It'll probably be about 8 people if we have 3 different groups. And just to think about, okay, what would if you were to have a Zoom party this evening, what kind of would the collective skills and resources that you could sort of bring into this to make it something that you want to do? So it's really about sort of, thinking about, well, what's to hand? What can I bring to something like that? Just as a little bit of a sort of guide, I thought it might be, you might want to consider some of these questions. So, what's the theme or the vibe? What are you going to be wearing? What are you bringing to eat or drink? You've already had some good suggestions from Yvonne and Alice in terms of cocktails, but it might be something else. My particular, one that I'd be interested in, what entertainment or activities or games are you going to be offering and doing? What would you like to do yourself, but what would you like to do as a group? And also, how would it be documented and shared with everyone? So really, it's a kind of like, very quick Zoom party planning exercise for the 8 of you. I think it'd be interesting for you to sort of like come up with the things that you want to be able to do, but to sort of negotiate that with the rest of the group, and we'll see kind of what they're looking like. And as before, if you can sort of choose one representative from your group or a spokesperson to kind of feedback and just basically tell us what this party is, maybe using these kind of guides or anything else that you want to mention about it. And then Yvonne and Alice, well, they're going to take part in some of the conversations, but they can also sort of offer you some feedback, maybe in terms of whether it's something you'd like to do or whether it could be something that you could try out for South Square, maybe. That's kind of another way of thinking about it. So I'll put these questions in the chat. Let me just kind of do that bit. So you're happy with the kind of everyone's all right with it being that you're planning a Zoom party, people understand that bit, and it's kind of whatever's to hand, what kind of like you can bring to it. Let me just check that they've come through. Okay, so here's some sort of like guides to the things that you might want to think about in terms of planning your Zoom party. So yeah, what's the theme or the vibe? What are you wearing? What are you going to be eating and drinking? What's the entertainment? And how's it going to be documented? And so, yeah, you'll have, let's say half an hour. That's kind of, I'll bring you'll get the little countdown bit to sort of discuss this with your group, and then we'll hear about what the parties are looking like. So, any questions before I send you into these breakout rooms? Everyone's happy. Okay, enjoy. I'll see you in 30 minutes. Cool. Okay. I hope that was fun. It's great. I was just saying, this residency is now just stepped up a gear, which I'm like really happy about. It's not going to be the same after this, I don't think. That's good. Well, I hope you enjoyed your party planning and discussions. So, Alice, you took part in one of these, didn't you? But you could still perhaps kind of help. Well, Yvonne can be the main judge, and Alice can be the secondary judge. So I'll make some notes as well. So, representative from Group 1, do you want to start? Come in and start telling us about what your party is looking like tonight.
I think that would be me, and I love all the screens that make me understand who was in which party and connect. Well, this is not something that we've come up with, obviously. So I think we first started talking a little bit about the atmosphere of how to create an atmosphere of a party.
Yeah.
And without actually coining it that, we didn't say atmosphere. We just started talking about a playlist and how that playlist could be constructed together by each of us bringing a favorite song, which then, or the favorite song even of 2020, something like that.
Wow.
on the one hand give insight into who you are, but also create this like atmosphere that is absolutely not curated, but just brought together by everybody.
So did anyone mention what would be on this favorite songs from 2020?
No.
What would be on yours, Tatiana? You can tell me.
Well, I can't actually, because I think that's the challenge, to really bring it down to one song, and that is something that will take some thinking. I might take a song that I was listening to in Biella. And then we were talking about how that bringing together a playlist could also transform into bringing together a background, that we were thinking of real backgrounds, and we were thinking of somebody shared a project where people pre-lockdown, pre-pandemic brought together sunsets.
Sunsets, okay.
Just like in general, the exterior, the atmosphere of where we are, and kind of like have the others participate through the screen.
Excellent.
And we also were thinking of, but we just mentioned it briefly, of having the same food. Though we did not expand on this neither, like what kind of food that would be.
Well, what would you have if it was going to be down to you? What would you be eating tonight?
I think I'd like, because I've just never done that, I'd like to have like a cocktail recipe that we would all do together.
Okay. And
I've just never mixed a cocktail in my own apartment. So I think that would be maybe my suggestion. And we were talking about the clothing, the outfit, and we kind of like had different opinions on whether we should wear a pandemic outfit or a post-pandemic outfit.
Pandemic or post-pandemic outfit. So that would be the kind of fancy dress code.
Yeah, that would kind of be the dress code. But we didn't actually agree on whether it should be pandemic or post-pandemic. And what that would mean, we didn't agree on that neither, or like we didn't discuss that neither. I really liked a comment that was brought like halfway through this discussion that we were having, when it actually felt like we already collected quite a few ideas. Someone from our group said, well, I think we should have an ice-breaking activity by an object that each of us would bring.
Very
and
good.
then have to kind of do something with that object.
Okay.
And then also maybe like the last thing that is that we agreed on and kind of came up with is that in order to document and share the experience, we would rather create a rumor that was in our party, and take that rumor into the social media, spread it into different directions, kind of also distort it, and have different versions of that rumor circulate around, rather than really have like a party police kind of filming it, or having some sort of like real documentation happening.
Brilliant. Okay, so let me just kind of recap on it. So for group one, you've got a party with, well, not a theme, but the main atmosphere is kind of produced through a playlist of everyone's favorite songs that might be favorite songs from 2020. Like, I would find that really difficult, because I think I've been mainly listening to quite depressing music from the 90s in 2020, but I think there must be some party music that's come out that's nice. You would all have backdrops that are kind of like external places, but kind of like, for instance, sunsets or kind of outdoor things. I really like that idea. The food would you'd all be eating and drinking the same thing, but you haven't decided exactly what that might be yet. Could be a cocktail that everyone tries. What would we recommend?
I think an espresso martini. It's Italy themed, isn't it?
And you can have, well, you could, is it? But you can have an espresso martini without the booze if you don't drink as well. So that's good. Just a coffee in a martini glass that's cold. And then for the clothing pandemic or post-pandemic, which is really bringing up, you know, a lot of the kind of the most difficult terminology in the whole sort of the residency at the moment. So I'd like to see how people dress like that. I'm assuming we're thinking about masks or
well, everything's more comfortable, isn't it? Like no one's wearing high heels or like tight, like everyone's sort of chilled out, haven't they, on the clothes? So it's sort of like, yeah, super comfortable.
Okay,
would be post-pandemic.
That's your version of it. All right. And then an ice-breaking activity that involves an object that you do something with. Is that right? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Any object, and you can do anything with it. It's a nice open brief. I don't know what I would bring. We've got a little ball of foil that our cat likes playing with, so I think that would be that. And then and then it's documented through rumor spread via social media, which I think is very exciting. Brilliant. Okay, so that's Group 1's party. Group 2, who's the representative from that?
Here I am. Hi, everybody. I was in the group with, let me see, Zina, Annabelle, Kirilla, Alice, Julia, Ginevra, and Rayhane. And so our party would be, of course, bring your own booze and food. And everybody wanted to have a custom background, so maybe everybody would choose or would make one. And in our party there would be charades and maybe a talent show where you can show your best skills on what you're good at, to share a bit of your knowledge. And
what's your skill that you're bringing to this, Francesca? I'm excited to know.
Me?
Yes, what's the talent you're bringing?
Maybe I could draw. I could do a live drawing, so it's easy with sharing the screen. And there, we thought that at first it would have just a specific amount of time, like 2 hours, and then there is the count at the end, so everybody's rushing with the greetings and stuff. Or maybe it could be also a sleeping party, so after you have the party, everybody is going to sleep in front of the camera, maybe with some good music, chilly music and stuff like that.
Beautiful. So an open-ended, a sleepover Zoom party.
Yeah, also, yeah, of course. And there somebody, maybe Julia was suggesting to use masks. So maybe everybody can have its own characters. So you don't have to be in the party like yourself. You can be whoever you want, given the fact that you are online. So that's interesting. It would be really nice. And yeah, maybe I suggested that maybe you can watch a movie all together, but it would be a bit strange. I know there is this possibility to do that, but yeah, maybe it's just a waste of time. You can watch it by yourself and then maybe talk with everybody later.
That's a serious question about cinema in general, isn't it?
Sorry?
That's a like getting really at the crux of cinema in general, is to, you know, why watch it with other people. And how's your party being documented?
We really didn't talk about that long, so maybe screen prints, and somebody suggested to make GIFs out of the screen of everybody's, maybe record or I don't know, whatever. Yeah, maybe it's, I don't think it's all. Alice mentioned that there was somebody gave the possibility to rent a goat for a Zoom party. So you could pay somebody that placed the camera in front of a goat, and you have your own private goat at your party. And yeah, if everybody wants to add something, please do.
Annabelle mentioned about hacking all the other Zoom parties.
Ah,
as
yeah.
well.
That would be cool. Inviting a hacker that can, yeah, melt everything together.
Okay, that's fantastic. So there's actually loads in there of ideas for things, but essentially bring your own booze and food party with custom backgrounds. The entertainment is charades plus a talent show, which might include drawing from Francesco. I really like this idea that it could be an open-ended sleep over Zoom, or that you know that the countdowns, like from the time that you get in there when it's finishing, that does seem to be the kind of like Zoom condition. Masquerade, so you can be anonymous and act whoever you want. There could then be gifts or animals involved as well. I'll put a note of, that's good. And that, if you wanted to hack, hacking other people's pies, I suppose that is the same as gate crashing, isn't it, in the real world, and could happen. That's great. So just quickly with group 3, does someone want to sort of feedback from what your party's looking like?
I can start, but it was like really a collaborative party ideas. So we get into the idea immediately of doing it. So we might try to meet tonight at 10. Who wants to come later will probably find somebody sleeping, but because we don't want to have an end time, so we said that if somebody wants to sleep, just go to sleep, and he will sleep with all the others, and we will just see the background for him. And so our theme is to be Alf. So Alf is the team, because in Alf, because, like Zoom just give a half of the body of a person. So we will have, we were wearing Alf clothes, some would be pajama and fancy clothes. And if somebody sleeps naked, will be naked. I mean, you don't know what you're going to see, but it's a possibility. We are going to eat and drink everything that comes from breakfast, but corrected with alcohol. So it's not also offensive to, underage people who might be stepping inside the party. We are not going to push towards the consume of alcohol, but we are going to drink for sure. And our main activity, entertainment, we didn't really talk about our skills, but we just did this talking together about what to do, and we came out with different ideas of what to do because the night is really long. So the main one will be like a kind of a background and costume battles, because the Alf costume and Alf dresses, the fancy, involves the background. As you can see, we are trying to work on our background too. So we were going to work and change them pretty intensively all the night long. And like somebody suggested, like, this hip hop and rap battles, we are going to do that with the backgrounds. And we are going definitely to see some movies together, but half of a movie and the other half of another one. So the beginning of one movie and the end of another one. We don't know yet what, but we are just probably going to pick up some of them randomly together, according to also the consume of breakfast, corrected breakfast. And what else? And we are going to document it with some screen snapshots and maybe recording the videos, or maybe also somebody says and suggested a blog with all the background and the images to keep all the pictures of ourselves. And we are going to perform songs together, maybe karaoke. And what else? We are going to also do some makeup, maybe. It's this costume and background things will involve the body. And we didn't really talk about tricks. I mean, it's already a trick what we are doing. And I'm forgetting something, guys, girls?
Yes, you forgot to mention the Techno Lullaby.
Oh, the Techno Lullaby is it's our title.
And we're gonna listen to Techno Lullabies as well at some point.
Yes.
Sounds brilliant. Okay, so I mean, this is, these are all brilliant party ideas, but I think
this is for my partners in the party. I found the cat.
Right.
Now you have old pictures about it.
So we've got a techno lullaby themed party where the entertainment could involve being asleep, but also involves karaoke, watching mashed up movies of one half and another. You can eat and drink breakfast foods with optional alcohol.
Not optional. It has to have alcohol.
Oh, sorry. Okay, non-optional alcohol. And then yeah, there's the kind of dress theme is half and half, or sort of half what you would wear in the and then there will also be battles around costumes and backgrounds as well. Sounds very, very good. I hope it does happen, actually.
It sounds quite intense, but yeah. I look forward to seeing the blog.
Okay.
So who wants to join us can, but these are the rules, I guess.
Okay. Well, I mean, I think we've done well there in at least getting a conversation started about what different skills people might be able to bring to something at short notice. But they're all sort of quite just I mean, what happens when you get sort of 45 international artists together to come up with parties? That's what they look like. I think they're really good. I think I would go to all of them. Okay, so again, I'm hoping that's kind of, I mean, I've made some notes. I think it will inform maybe some of the stuff that we do later on in the program, but I think the general idea is just to start to, I think following on from like Yvonne and Alice's presentation, really starting to think about, well, sometimes you have to respond quite quickly and with the resources to hand, and kind of like working in a from the point of view of, well, what do you want to see happen and how to share that, I think came through a little bit in Sandy's presentation last week as well. So I think we're starting to kind of get a bit more of a nuanced understanding of what the different types of embedded practice are, and I think it was nice to be able to sort of think about South Square as, you know, the turning point being the party. Like when they opened up as a sort of gallery space for artists, it kind of felt a bit sort of like a closed thing. But as soon as they started sort of putting on things that I guess they thought they were just doing for fun, other people could join in on those. So I think, you know, the element of joy in embedded practices and things that we're sort of talking about, I think is quite important to keep hold of, even when we're sort of working with very in very challenging times and in the face of adversity as well. I just wanted to kind of quickly do a roundup before we finish, and because we're halfway through the residency now, we're just about to start week 6, so I thought it might just be sort of worth, you know, taking stock on that, and thinking about sort of, you know, what's happening in general. So yes, this is where we are halfway through, in kind of in between the 2 weeks that we've had so far. The seminars and I mean, that's, I guess, they're the sort of the core activity where we're all coming together. So we've had the sort of seminars with the plenary from Paul O'Neill, Claudia and Aria in situ, Stealth, Sandy and South Square. Through the 1 week intensives, so far we've had 17 residents that have come to stay in Biella. So that's people from Italy, Spain, Germany, UK and Sweden. And we've just started now also having some of the virtual residents who've not been able to sort of join us in Italy at that time, but we're still taking part in 1 week intensives. And as part of those kind of weeks, we've been doing the visits. So the kind of in the first week, we had a visit from Marcin Fildi, a sustainable yarn producer, and Bon Prix factory that we went to visit. Pace Futuro, which was I think the second week's group visit for a migrant support organisation, and also wool factories, the youth-led spaces. So we're starting to kind of like build up quite a lot of experience, and the discussions that are coming out of that. Well, I mean, first of all, most of that is all sort of documented within the archive and resources on the Padlet, which I'm hoping people are able to check in on regularly and catch up with anything that they might have missed, particularly with the sort of seminars and the breakout discussions that have been from them. But also I've been sort of keeping notes on what these kind of discussions that are happening in the groups, but also kind of like in the breakout rooms are. And I think, you know, there are some emerging themes and strands to what we're talking about. I think it's worth, you know, me mentioning again, really this kind of residency overall, the way I'm seeing it, is it's a conversation. It's a conversation with kind of 45 artists, plus the mentors, plus the kind of places that we're in, and really just thinking about, well, what does it mean to be doing embedded arts practice in a post-pandemic future? Obviously, you know, we need to kind of still continue to unpick what we mean by post-pandemic future, because is that what it's really more like a post-pandemic present, and that, you know, it's something that's happened that is going to inform and kind of colour everything that we do kind of for the, you know, foreseeable. I don't think it's something that we're going to be able to, we're not thinking about something that goes away at any point. It's like, right, this is something that's changed the conditions for a lot of kind of social interaction. That's what we're doing. So the kind of themes that have been coming out in the discussions have been around, you know, time and duration, embodied and embedded, fragility, fragmentation, this experience of sort of being in lots of different places, but also the kind of precariousness that's kind of a condition of that. Obviously, collaboration is coming out in terms of, you know, whenever we're talking about sort of embedded practice, there's a lot about participation and how you work with others. But I think that has got a certain sort of resonance at the moment, and obviously lots of new challenges posed by social distancing and travel restrictions. Intimacy and care, I think, has been coming up quite a lot, both in your sort of conversations from last week, but within the kind of practices that people are getting on with and the discussions that we're having as a group, and in ecology and the environment. I mean, ecology probably also in terms of like infrastructure and the kind of like the things that are necessary for embedded practice to take hold. So they're just a few notes, I think, not to kind of limit what we're talking about, but that I thought it'd be useful to share with you at the moment. And I really appreciate the fact that as a group you've been sort of bringing these themes up is a response to I think where you've led the discussion. The other thing, of course, the other bit of research isn't just kind of the discussions that we're having, but the actual, you know, and the way that I guess I'm being able to pull those together is what you are doing as artists with your action research projects in your locale. And, you know, there's a sort of a few different layers to this conversation. There's the conversation that I'm having with you, or we're all having together as artists, and then there's the conversations that you might be starting or having in your area. And that doesn't necessarily mean that it has to be kind of straightforward talking to people, but the kind of research that you're doing and the relationship you're building with that place and bringing that back to the group. So it's kind of this wider sort of or second level of kind of conversation that's happening through the action research projects. And as most of you all know, you know, you've all been at different sort of parts in different you've all arrived at this cycle at different points. So the first group that came in, you know, started came to Cittadellarte straight away. They hadn't necessarily done any action research before they came. Now people are halfway through, so they'll have done 5 weeks of stuff at home, and then 5 weeks 4 weeks after their time in Biella to apply what they're doing. So this kind of cycle is kind of allowing people to everyone gets the opportunity to, the thing that they're working on in their place, to have this 1 week intensive, whether that be in Biella or virtually, to sort of reflect on that, unpack it a little bit, test some things out, try it in a different place, talk to some other people about how it's working. I think it's interesting how different residents are using that time and space to try it out, because some people want to use it as a way to engage in Biella or engage in Cittadellarte. Some people want to sort of work with the particular group that they're with. Other people, you know, want to sort of have this reflective time as well. And I think they're all kind of like valid ways of using a 1 week intensive. But I think this kind of dialogue that you are setting up with the place that you are in is kind of a really key part to what this residency is about, because I think, again, as sort of like Yvonne and Alice have shown, learning through doing, learning from what's around you, and getting involved in it is quite a key part of this sort of practice. And I think particularly in the given moment where things are so different and so kind of changeable, the only way that we can sort of know about it is through actually going out and engaging in stuff. So the Padlet's great for getting a sense of what people are doing with that. I think I've been really enjoying looking through these and getting updates on your projects. And I would, really encourage you to just sort of share all the little bits that you're kind of working on. I kind of think even if it doesn't have to be some sort of finished or profound kind of statement that you're making on there. It's almost just like, it's just good to know what people are doing, because this is the, you know, the many eyes of our collective kind of, yeah, we can bring together through that Padlet space. And obviously when you're here, we're doing kind of group critiques as the kind of the method to share those projects in a bit more detail. So it's really useful to come here with, you know, to be able to pull things from the Padlet just as material to share, whether it's images or kind of even bits of text or something that sort of shows where you're at with the project at that time. And so just again to round off, the way that this is being shared or documented here is through this kind of collective space, which is the corridor outside the Unidee project space, where people are leaving a trace of where they're at that point with their project. And I think it's kind of worth sort of just explaining that I think even though we're not, you know, we're asking you to engage in a project during the course of the 10 weeks of the residency, it might be, or hopefully it will be, something that's kind of a much longer term project, or it's the beginning, it's a point to sort of accelerate some kind of research for you. But we're asking you to kind of, sorry, I'm just kind of getting some messages on here. We're asking you to sort of think about how there are certain intervals in this kind of longer term project where you share what you're up to or have some trace of it, or it crystallizes in something. So we've got this kind of collective exhibition happening in the corridor space outside the Unidee project space that you work in. And I also think it's worth kind of just bringing this sort of model into our understanding of how research projects like this work, in the sense that they all tend to have like a sort of divergent and a convergent sort of stage. So really at the moment, you know, for the first, if we were to be really crude about it, for the first 5 weeks of this project, I think, you know, everyone's been just sort of exploring kind of the ideas, the underpinning what their practice is, the places, they're really sort of gathering a lot of material. And then another key part of this is that at some point, you know, there are moments where some of this, choices have to be made, and there's a kind of convergent sort of stage in this research as well. So, I mean, the reality is that it looks much more like something like this, where obviously there are many convergent and divergent stages within one project. But I think it's worth just kind of bearing in mind that when we're offering these kind of opportunities through the crits or the Padlet, or even, you know, what we'll be working towards at the end of this residency, at the end of the 10 weeks, is to sort of have this convergent moment where a selection is made about how to represent the kind of longer term project that you're looking at. So we'll go into a bit more detail on that, but I just thought it was useful to remind people of the time frame. So yeah, apart from saying thanks again to Yvonne and Alice for a really great presentation, they'll be free to do some one-to-ones with you on Wednesday, and we'll just do those as kind of first come first served sign-ups. If someone wants to email, I'll put the link out again on with the recordings from the presentation today. Priority will be given to the people that aren't doing their 1 week intensive at the moment, because they'll be connecting with Yvonne and Alice anyway. But let us know what time might suit you around then. And then the other thing to mention is we've got a bonus seminar again, so next Saturday, just to keep the kind of momentum going, from Judith Vilander and Matteo Lucetti, who are the curators of the Visible project, which is a sort of initiative that's come from Cittadellarte, creating a kind of archive of case studies of socially engaged art. So that'll be the next time that we'll all come together and see one another. So that's next Saturday, 2 till 4:30 p.m. So yeah, apart from that, thank you very much to everyone that's taken part, and it's been really good to see you all again, and I hope you have a really lovely week. Cheers.
Bye.